The tension inside the love and hip-hop circle has officially exploded, and this time, it's not just about shade being thrown on camera, it's the kind of drama that feels too raw to be staged. Whispers have been spreading behind the scenes, and now they've boiled over into a confrontation that nobody saw coming. Reports claim that during an off-camera moment, Mendeecees stepped directly to Sierra after her shocking claim that Yandhi may be hiding a secret child connected to another cast member. The room went silent as emotions ran high. Sierra, never one to back down, stood by her words, insisting that she had receipts. Yandhi, caught in the middle, was visibly shaken, and the cast looked on in disbelief. Insiders described the atmosphere as explosive, people shouting, security rushing in, and producers scrambling to decide what could even make it to air. Fans are stunned, wondering, is this just another publicity stunt? Or did Sierra really hit a nerve that cuts too deep for television? One thing is certain, the clash between Menz and Sierra has shifted the entire season into uncharted territory, and the fallout might be bigger than anyone expected. The night had been filled with quiet whispers long before anyone raised their voice. But when Menz finally confronted Sierra over the baby allegation, the atmosphere cracked like glass under pressure. There was no music, no scripted line to ease the tension, just raw emotion spilling out from every direction. Insiders say the room went so still that even the cameras seemed hesitant to keep rolling. Mendes locked eyes with Sierra, and his voice, usually calm and measured, carried a sharpness that sent shivers through those standing nearby. He asked her why she would dare to spread such rumors, why she would go after his family when she knew exactly how hard they had fought to stay together. Sierra, never one to fold under pressure, squared her shoulders and refused to back down. She insisted that she wasn't the only one talking, that conversations had been happening for months off camera, and she was simply the first to say it out loud. The words "secret child" hung in the air like smoke that no one could wave away. Cast members shifted nervously, unsure whether to intervene or stay back, their eyes darting between Yandhi, who was trembling in her seat, and Sierra, who seemed determined to double down on her claims. "You act like I made this up," Sierra snapped, her tone dripping with defiance. "But people know, people have been whispering, and if you think I'm the only one who's heard about this, you're lying to yourself." The accusation sent a ripple through the group. Yandhi's hands clenched together, her voice shaky as she tried to defend herself. She reminded everyone that she had always stood tall for her marriage, that she had sacrificed her own peace to protect her family. But her words didn't land the way she hoped because Sierra immediately cut her off, demanding to know why Yandhi always got so defensive whenever Mendeecees' name came up in rumors. The tension was unbearable. Insiders claimed producers were panicking, whispering to each other about whether they should cut the feed or let it roll, knowing this kind of drama could send ratings soaring. But security hesitated, aware that stepping in too soon might only make the situation spiral further out of control. Fans who later caught leaked snippets online could hardly believe what they saw. The clip was grainy, but it clearly showed Sierra waving her phone in the air, claiming she had proof. People shouted, voices overlapped, and in the middle of it all, Mendeecees' expression hardened as though he had reached his breaking point. "You don't bring my family into this," he warned, his voice rising above the chaos. "Whatever issue you have, you deal with it, but don't you dare drag my kids into your mess." But Sierra smirked, refusing to be intimidated. "Then why are people saying things you don't want to hear?" she shot back. "Maybe the problem isn't me, maybe the problem is what you're trying to hide." That was the line that made the room explode with noise. Cast members gasped. Some stepped forward to hold Mendeecees back as he looked ready to lash out, and others rushed to comfort Yandhi, who was visibly breaking down. Insiders described her eyes welling up with tears, her voice cracking as she repeated over and over that none of it was true. She said she couldn't believe the level of disrespect, that this wasn't just about her anymore, but about her children being dragged into headlines they never asked for. Still, the energy shifted when one cast member whispered loud enough to be overheard. "What if Sierra really does have something? What if she's not bluffing?" Those words hit harder than a punch because suddenly doubt spread across the room. Even those who were loyal to Yandhi couldn't hide the flicker of curiosity in their eyes. What exactly did Sierra mean when she said she had receipts? And why did she look so confident when everyone else was falling apart? Social media went into overdrive almost instantly after rumors of the confrontation leaked. Hashtags started trending within hours, with H-Team Yandhi and K-Team Sierra dividing fans into two fiercely loyal camps. People were dissecting every frame of old footage, hunting for signs, digging through past interviews where Yandhi may have stumbled over a question, or moments where Sierra and Mendes exchanged words that now seemed suspicious. The internet didn't wait for confirmation. It built the story higher with every passing minute. Inside the room, though, the battle raged on. Sierra's words cut deep, and while some of the cast begged her to stop, she kept pushing. Insisting that she wouldn't be silenced, she taunted Yandi, saying that no matter how polished her image was on camera, the truth always found a way to come out. "You can't hide forever," she spat, her voice sharp. "You built this whole perfect wife act, but everybody got skeletons, and when yours finally come out, people are going to see who you really are." Yandi's composure cracked. She shouted back, her voice trembling with anger, that she had given her all to her marriage, that she was tired of people questioning her loyalty, and that dragging her children into this was crossing a line that could never be uncrossed. Her words were raw, filled with emotion, but they only fueled the fire because Sierra simply laughed, shaking her head as if she knew more than she was letting on. Friends and family who later spoke about the moment said they had never seen Yandi so shaken, even after years of reality TV drama. She had always kept her head high, but this time, her shoulders slumped, her voice faltered, and the pain in her eyes told a story that words couldn't. Meanwhile, Mendeecees struggled to keep control. He pulled her close, whispering for her to stay calm. But his own patience was wearing thin. He wanted answers, not just for himself, but for the sake of shutting down the rumors that were spiraling out of control. Yet, the more he pressed, the more Sierra leaned into her claims, her smirk daring him to call her bluff. It was at that exact moment when the shouting reached its peak that someone's phone alarm went off. A shrill sound that cut through the noise like a blade. Everyone froze for a second, the tension so thick that it felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. And in that silence, Sierra tilted her head, her voice calm now, almost taunting as she said, "You don't want me to show what I've got, trust me." The statement landed heavier than anything she had said before. Even those who thought she was bluffing couldn't ignore the weight in her tone, the conviction in her eyes, and for the first time, it wasn't just about Yandi defending her marriage. It was about the entire cast realizing that if Sierra truly had proof, it could tear apart everything they thought they knew about the couple. The room buzzed again, cast members whispering, some urging her to stop before she crossed a line that could never be undone. But Sierra simply folded her arms, her expression unshaken, and waited for someone to challenge her further. The confrontation had shifted into something darker now. It wasn't just a fight. It was a test of who would break first, who would lose control, and whose truth would be believed. And as Yandi wiped her tears, glaring across the room, and Mendeecees tightened his grip on her hand, everyone knew the night was far from over. Fans' curiosity exploded even more when Sierra began responding directly to comments during her live session. People kept asking non-stop who the child belonged to, and Sierra just smiled slightly, saying the truth would come out soon enough. Some fans accused her of creating unnecessary drama, but her tone and her expressions made it clear she was holding on to something heavy, almost as if she had undeniable proof in her hands. And just when people thought things couldn't get any wilder, an insider blog dropped another bombshell claiming that Sierra had saved private chat screenshots. According to them, those conversations between Yandandi and a male cast member looked suspicious, filled with hints that suggested something more than friendship. The whispers quickly turned into roars across social media. Everyone was asking the same questions. Could this really be true, or was it just another exaggerated stunt to pull attention? The blog insisted that the screenshots weren't fabricated, and if they were to be released publicly, they could completely flip the narrative around Yandi. Suddenly, this wasn't just about petty arguments or on-screen rivalries. This was about a possible hidden affair and a child that might change everything for the love and hip-hop storyline. Media outlets didn't waste a second. Headlines began flooding timelines, all screaming about Yandi's supposed secret being on the verge of exposure. Fan bases quickly split into two camps, one side fiercely defending Yandi, calling it slander and clout chasing, while the other side insisted that smoke always means there's fire. The tension online was so thick that even neutral fans found themselves getting pulled into heated debates, speculating and analyzing every possible clue. But things escalated to an entirely new level when a short audio clip surfaced online. Nobody knew where it had originated, but the voice allegedly belonged to the same male cast member mentioned in the rumors. In the recording, he was heard saying something vague about not being ready for the world to know and keeping things quiet for the sake of everyone involved. Though the clip was less than 20 seconds long, it was enough to send fans into complete frenzy. Was this the confirmation everyone had been waiting for? Or was it another clever edit meant to stir chaos? Sierra, sensing the perfect opportunity to keep the spotlight on her, hinted once again that she had more evidence locked away. She claimed she was being pressured behind the scenes to keep quiet, but her tone suggested she wasn't going to stay silent much longer. People watching her live chat went crazy, filling the comment section with pleas for her to reveal the truth right then and there. Instead, she told them that timing was everything, and when she dropped the full story, nobody would be able to deny it. Backstage whispers began leaking into the public, and rumors spread that the producers themselves were panicking. A scandal this massive could either skyrocket ratings or completely destroy reputations, and nobody in power seemed sure how to handle it. Some insiders claimed that production meetings turned heated with arguments about whether to silence Sierra or to let her reveal everything on camera for maximum drama. Meanwhile, Yandhi maintained silence, refusing to directly address the swirling allegations. But that silence only fueled the fire, making fans wonder if she was hiding something. Every post she made online, whether about family, work, or even random motivational quotes, was flooded with comments demanding answers. The pressure around her kept building, and people couldn't help but notice the cracks starting to form. To make things even worse, paparazzi managed to capture photos of Yandhi leaving a restaurant with the same male cast member. Though it could have been an innocent dinner, the timing made it look like a confirmation of everything being whispered. The pictures went viral instantly, and hashtags about Yandhi's alleged affair dominated the trending charts. Even those who previously defended her started questioning whether they'd been wrong. The storyline now had all the elements of a full-blown reality TV disaster: secret relationships, a possible hidden child, betrayal among friends, and the looming threat of everything unraveling in front of millions of viewers. Fans weren't just entertained anymore, they were invested. They wanted to see every twist, every confrontation, every tearful confession, and deep down, they knew the truth would come out, no matter how hard anyone tried to bury it. By the end of that chaotic week, the entire cast was feeling the heat. Alliances began to shift quietly behind closed doors. Some people who had always stood by Yandhi started distancing themselves, fearing they'd get dragged into the storm. Others tried to take advantage of the situation, reaching out to bloggers and hinting at even more secrets that hadn't yet been revealed. It was like a domino effect. Once the first piece fell, everything else was collapsing right behind it. As the speculation reached fever pitch, Sierra dropped one last shocking statement. During another live session, she looked directly into the camera and said, "The world thinks it's just about drama, but when you find out who's been hiding the truth and why, your entire view of this show will never be the same again." Her words left fans stunned, and the comment section exploded with people begging her not to drag things out any longer. But she simply ended the live, leaving everyone hanging on the edge of their seats, desperate for what would come next. The room grew colder as the whispers multiplied, every corner buzzing with theories that spread like wildfire. Sierra's claims had shaken the core of their world. But what came next began to blur the line between rumor and reality. People who had once laughed off the idea of Yandhi hiding a child suddenly seemed unsure. One wrong look, one quiet hesitation, and the doubt was planted deeper. It was no longer about receipts or screenshots alone. It was about the air of secrecy Yandhi carried, the kind that made people wonder what she was truly capable of keeping hidden. Yandhi, still silent, seemed to believe that denying everything would somehow make it vanish. But her silence did the opposite. In the reality TV universe, silence was the loudest scream. Her refusal to clap back, to fight fire with fire, gave Sierra's words weight they didn't have before. Fans dissected every old clip, every interview, and every live stream, searching for clues. And as if fate itself wanted to feed the fire, old footage resurfaced of Yandhi cutting off a question mid-tur, her eyes darting nervously as the interviewer asked about her family. Sierra, watching all this unfold, leaned further into the chaos. She started dropping cryptic posts, own-liners filled with venom and suggestion. "Secrets never stay buried," she wrote one evening, attaching a black and white photo of herself smirking. The internet exploded. Was she bluffing, or did she have more to spill? Those who doubted her began to rethink their stance. Because no one keeps doubling down unless they know they can win the war. Behind the cameras, cast members whispered among themselves. Some believed Sierra had gone too far, accusing Yandhi of something that could destroy not just her reputation, but her family. Others, however, were too curious, too drawn to the drama, secretly hoping the story was true because it would make the season unforgettable. Alliances began shifting. People who were once close to Yandhi started keeping their distance, afraid of being caught in the blast radius if the truth unraveled. Then came the most shocking twist of all. One of the producers, who had been lurking in the shadows of this feud, leaked a message suggesting that the network had known about a sensitive storyline involving Yandandi for years, but chose to keep it off-screen to protect her brand. Suddenly, this wasn't just gossip, it was a potential cover-up. If the network had helped Yandi bury the secret, how deep did the deception go? The fans, hungry for answers, became digital detectives, forums filled with threads analyzing timelines, photos, and unexplained gaps in Yandi's personal life. Someone even claimed to have spotted her at a clinic years ago with a man who was rumored to be the father of the supposed child. While no proof was solid, the details were enough to keep the narrative alive, painting Yandi into a corner she couldn't escape. Meanwhile, Sierra's confidence grew. She appeared in lives with a gleam in her eye, speaking in riddles that made people hang on to every word. "All I'll say is when the truth comes out, you're gonna look at her differently," she teased. Her tone wasn't playful anymore, it was calculated. She had positioned herself as the whistleblower, the one who dared to challenge the untouchable. And the more she spoke, the more the spotlight shifted to Yandi's every move, every facial expression, every silence. But beneath the noise, there was another layer of tension building. People started to notice that certain cast members were avoiding the topic altogether, neither defending Yandi nor criticizing Sierra. It was as if they knew more than they were willing to admit. Their silence added a dangerous edge to the story. It made the possibility of truth feel heavier, like a storm gathering just out of sight. As the speculation spread beyond the fan base and into mainstream gossip blogs, the headlines grew bolder. "Does Yandi have a hidden child?" screamed one outlet, while another claimed to have exclusive confirmation that the child's father was indeed part of the cast. Though no evidence was presented, the sheer weight of repetition made people believe it. In the world of scandal, perception often mattered more than facts. Yandi tried to carry on as if nothing had changed, but her demeanor betrayed her. At events, she seemed distracted, her smile tighter, her eyes darting away from cameras too quickly. Fans noticed and clipped those moments, posting them with captions like, "Look at her body language, she's hiding something." Every movement became ammunition, every pause proof of guilt. It was a nightmare she couldn't wake up from, and yet she refused to directly address it. Sierra, sensing weakness, pushed harder. In one particularly explosive live session, she claimed she had seen the child and that Yandi had gone to extreme lengths to hide the situation from the public. Gasps filled the comments as thousands watched, unsure whether they were witnessing truth or performance, but either way, it worked. Within hours, her words were plastered across gossip sites, social media, and even mainstream platforms. The backlash against Yandandi intensified. Fans demanded answers, tagging her in every post, flooding her comments with questions she wouldn't answer. Some defended her, arguing that Sierra was crossing lines that should never be crossed. But the louder voices were those demanding the truth. The more Yandi refused to speak, the more her silence felt like confirmation. Behind closed doors, tempers flared. Insiders claimed Yandi was furious with Sierra, threatening to take legal action, but stopping short of filing anything concrete because doing so would force her to address the claims publicly. The producers, meanwhile, saw the ratings goldmine unfolding and reportedly encouraged the feud, letting the tension play out for maximum impact. The once unshakable foundation of Yandi's image was beginning to crack piece by piece as the accusations became too heavy to ignore. And though she fought to keep her composure, the reality was setting in. If Sierra wasn't stopped, the world might finally see the side of her she had fought so hard to keep in the shadows. The tension in the room had reached a boiling point when Yandi finally spoke again, her voice trembling but sharp, trying to slice through the noise around her. She turned to Sierra with a cold stare and said she had crossed the line of no return. That accusing her of having a secret child with another cast member was not just messy drama, but an unforgivable betrayal. The cast sat in stunned silence because even for a show built on chaos, this kind of accusation had crossed into dangerous territory. Some whispered that if what Sierra said turned out to be true, Yandi's entire image would crumble. But if it was a lie, then Sierra's credibility would be destroyed beyond repair. The stakes had never felt this high, and everyone knew that whichever way this story unfolded, someone's career would not survive the fallout. Yandandi tried to defend herself, saying that the only children she had were the ones everyone already knew, the family she raised and fought for on television, and that nothing Sierra said could erase that truth. But Sierra didn't back down. Instead, she leaned in closer, locking eyes with Yandi, and whispered that there were people ready to come forward, that she wasn't making this up, that the secret had been buried for too long and now it was about to surface. Gasps spread across the room like wildfire, and phones were already being pulled out to record reactions, because if this played out the way Sierra was promising, it would explode across social media within hours. The energy had shifted completely, and now even the ones who usually sided with Yandandi were quietly stepping back, waiting to see if her so-called perfect family image would crack. Rumors swirled about who this alleged father could be, and although Sierra didn't name names in that moment, the way she paused and glanced around at certain cast members made the tension unbearable. Suddenly, every man in the room looked uneasy, shifting in their seats as though the spotlight might turn on them at any second. Producers whispered behind the cameras, some panicking about the legal risks, others excited about the ratings gold that was unfolding right in front of them. It was the kind of scene reality TV was built for. Messy, raw, and filled with enough scandal to keep viewers hooked for seasons. Yet for Yandi, it wasn't entertainment anymore. It was her life being torn apart in real time, and her voice broke as she pleaded with the room to stop entertaining lies meant only to destroy her. But Sierra was relentless. She pulled out her phone and scrolled until she found something, holding the screen up so that only the nearest few could see. Their shocked expressions confirmed that whatever was on that screen wasn't just harmless gossip. Whispers started again. Names were thrown around in hushed tones, and suddenly everyone had an opinion. One cast member shouted that this was too far, that children shouldn't be dragged into the mess, while another claimed that if Yandi had been hiding something like this, then maybe it was time the world knew. The divide grew sharper with every passing second, some siding with Yandandi, others feeding into Sierra's fire, and the cameras caught it all, the chaos, the tears, the accusations that would soon dominate headlines. Yandi stood up, her hands shaking, demanding that the cameras be turned off, that this conversation didn't belong on television. But the producers ignored her, knowing this was the kind of scandal that networks crave, the kind that could double ratings overnight. She turned to her closest allies in desperation, but even they hesitated, unsure whether defending her meant going down with her if the accusations turned out to be true. The isolation was crushing, and Yandi's face showed the weight of years of carefully crafted image being stripped away in a matter of minutes. The room buzzed with anticipation because everyone knew the next move could decide everything. Sierra finally said out loud that the alleged father of this secret child was not just some outsider, but someone tied to their world, someone who had been close enough to Yandi that no one ever suspected. The bombshell hit harder than anyone expected because once that name slipped from her lips, the entire room erupted. Accusations turned to screams, cast members pointed fingers, and suddenly multiple stories started clashing at once, with some saying they'd heard whispers before and others swearing this was the first they'd ever heard of it. Yandi's body stiffened, her jaw tightened, and for a moment she looked like she might crumble. But instead, she stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her and leaving the rest of them stunned in the aftermath. Outside, cameras followed her as she paced back and forth, tears streaming, while inside, Sierra doubled down, saying she had proof, and that if Yandi wanted to deny it, she'd make sure the truth went public anyway. The split among the cast grew wider. Friendships broke apart in seconds, and what started as a confrontation had turned into a full-on war. Everyone realized this wasn't just another fight. It was the kind of scandal that could change the trajectory of the entire show. Some feared the network might step in. Others whispered that they'd let it play out for the ratings. And in the middle of it all, Sierra's confidence only grew, convinced she was finally exposing the real Yandi that no one else had the courage to reveal. Meanwhile, social media was already buzzing with leaks from people who had been in the room, half-baked stories spreading like wildfire, fans speculating non-stop and hashtags trending before the episode had even aired. Yandi's supporters fought back online, calling Sierra a liar, desperate for relevance, while others demanded answers, asking if the receipts were real and if the child really existed. The digital frenzy mirrored the chaos in the room, creating a storm that felt impossible to control. Producers smiled behind the scenes because for them, controversy meant attention, and attention meant money, but for Yandi, it meant the possible collapse of everything she had built. Back in the house, the arguments raged on without her. Some cast members begged Sierra to drop it, to let it go before things went too far. But she refused, saying she was tired of pretending, tired of living in the shadow of someone who portrayed herself as flawless while hiding ugly truths. The fire in her voice made it clear she wasn't backing down, and that, whether the world was ready or not, she was going to force this secret into the open. The cameras zoomed in on every face, capturing the disbelief, the anger, the hurt, and the messy reality of friendships destroyed in the name of exposing hidden truths. As the night dragged on, it became clear that nothing would ever be the same again. Whether Yandi was innocent or guilty, the seed of doubt had been planted. And once that kind of rumor takes root, it's almost impossible to erase. Whispers turned to stories, stories turned to headlines, and by the time the credits rolled, the damage had already been done. Family, this story is way too explosive to ignore, and I know y'all got something to say about it. If Sierra's claims are true, then this could change everything fans thought they knew about Yandi. But if Yandi is right, and this is just another messy attempt to drag her name, then Sierra might have just started a war she can't win. So, now I'm turning it over to you. Whose side are you on? Do you think Sierra really has the receipts, or is this just another love and hip-hop stunt to keep the drama alive? Drop your thoughts down in the comments because I want to hear from everyone. And if you've been following this whole saga, then you know it's only getting messier. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss a single update. Because trust me, what's coming next is going to shake the entire cast. So tell me, do you believe Sierra's shocking claims, or do you think she's reaching for attention? Let me know below, and I'll be back with all the latest tea as soon as it drops. As soon as it drops,